The following contains scenes of physical abuse and mention of rape. Viewer discretion is advised.
When I was younger, things used to be so simple, so carefree. I would ride my scooter through the neighborhood and play with my hologram doll. Ever since I graduated high school, I've isolated myself from society. Of course, I'd talk to the customers where I work, only because it's a necessity. Luckily, I work in a quiet place. That's why I chose to be a librarian. It's been many years since a new book was printed on paper. Ever since the trees started to appear scarce, the government passed a law in 2069. Books would now be typed on computers and transferred onto tiny computer chips, not too much bigger than a thumb. You can insert them into a digital notebook and touch the screen to scroll through the pages, though that technology has been around for years. I heard about this new drug that could make you feel so alive. I was tired of coming home to an empty large house knowing I was the only person who lived there, even though I can't trust too much. I long to be with someone who actually cares about me and isn't a liar. As much as I'm scared to be around people, sometimes the silence is just... But I know for a fact that it's near impossible to find in a man. Since a lot of them today are just looking for a good time. Some days I just sit in my study and cry as I get sucked into my romance novels when I read them. My psychologist suggested that I should stop reading those novels, otherwise it would drive me to insanity. One day I went to his office and told him about my breakdown at the library.
Episode 3, Krystal Valentine.
It was a slow day. I hadn't done everything I was supposed to do, so I just sat at my desk and waited for customers. 10 minutes went by, and already the silence was bothering me. No one was there but me. Got up from my chair and walked to the romance section. As I looked through the chip catalogs, I heard someone walk in. It was a young teen couple. They were in the same section I was. How they giggled consistently. I'm starting to miss the silence all of a sudden. Began to kiss each other so softly. My lip quivered as I frowned. Face began to scrunch up and my eyes filled with tears as I had thoughts of past love of my own. I'd quickly walked away and grabbed my things at my desk, then walked out the door crying. After some time of me talking to my psychologist, he recommended that I should be put on Iris. I thought he was crazy at first, but then he explained to me that this was a new drug that would help me relieve stress, as he put it. He told me it was a chemical imbalance and that I wasn't getting my daily intake of nutrients. After going to the pharmacy to get some, I went home and walked into my study. I took the bottle out of the bag as well as the needle. I injected myself by pushing it into my arm. Closed my eyes and fell asleep in the chair. When I opened them again, I was in the woods, full of red and orange leaves. It was autumn. I always loved that season, since I was little. I would play the piano by the window when I lived with my parents. My mom taught me how to play. I used to write my own songs.
That was wonderful, dear. You're getting better. Keep practicing, and one day you will be as good as me.
One day, when I was 12, I came home from school and heard crying as I walked in. I ran to the living room to find my mother collapsed on the piano keys. Blood was dripping from her head and onto the keys. I saw my dad standing by her, gripping her neck. I stood in shock. She saw me with her tear-filled eyes.
Run!
Dad came after me as I ran out of the house and down the street as fast as I could. He eventually ran out of breath and couldn't keep up with me anymore. I dashed into the woods and cried my eyes out for hours. I was terrified, cold, and starving. It was the first night I had gone to sleep without dinner. Found a hollow log to crawl into that kept me out of the cold. It wasn't comfortable. It was probably the best place to sleep at the time. I woke the next day and came out of the log to explore the forest, seeking a way out. I pressed further into the woods, eventually seeing an open field, covered in more of autumn's leaves. It was a park full of sidewalks, benches, and tables. I felt like I wanted to die, while feeling numb at the same time. Dead in the eyes. But I knew I had to survive. I had to find shelter, safety, someone to protect me. I couldn't live on my own, I knew that. I had to tell someone, get help. Maybe there was still hope for my mom, saving her from Dad. If I can even really call him that. I really don't like talking about him. I thought maybe the police could get there before it was too late, but then where would I go? I had so many questions and so many thoughts overwhelming me. I couldn't think about anything enough to figure it out. I was too afraid. Frozen in fear, starving, dehydrated, broken, homeless. But then I saw a woman sitting at a table in the park. I walked over to her. It was hard for me to talk, but somehow managed.
Miss, can you please take me to the police?
Oh my. Dear, what happened?
I just came home and I heard screaming and I ran to the living room.
Oh, honey, slow down. Breathe. What did you see?
Mom, bleeding on her piano, bleeding and crying, Dad choking her.
Oh my God. Well, yes, we need to go to the police right away. When did this happen?
Yesterday, I came home from school. I slept in the forest to hide from him.
Oh, no, that's horrible. I'll take you to the police station. We'll figure this out, I promise. No matter what happens, I'll make sure you have a home tonight. My name is Mary. What's your name, dear?
Krystal.
I'm glad you found me. It's nice to meet you, Krystal.
Mary walked me to her car and drove to the police station. Police officers went to my house to check things out, but no one was there. I saw a few clothes laying in one of the bedrooms. Drawers were empty. Told me it was possible that my parents packed up and left town. This day I still don't know where they are. After hours of investigation and talking with the police, I was going to be given to the state. Mary suggested I should be taken to the orphanage where she worked. So she took me there. I was there for the next 6 years until I was 18, old enough to get out. It was always so cold and creaky around there. But Mary was like a second mother to me. And I miss her. She's the reason I stayed alive. I say all this because those woods I walked to after I got my medicine that day, when I first used it, well, Iris reminded me of when I was a child. A very familiar feeling, like deja vu. There I was, injected with the drug in these familiar woods. I walked carefully, step by step, and I lost my balance and rolled down a steep slope, not expecting it. When I reached the bottom, I stood up and walked further. I noticed a pathway of gravel, and I followed it. I saw a couple walking, both dressed in formal fashion, as if they were from the early 1900s.
Oh, the girl is dressed like a harlot.
They stared at me because I was wearing tight jeans, a low-cut red shirt, and sneakers. It's as if I was in an earlier time period. In the distance, I saw a man, strong, tall, beautiful man. As I walked towards him, I can see more of his features. I can see his blue eyes, bright blonde hair that almost reached his shoulders, his inviting smile, his muscular figure, his white buttoned-up shirt and long brown slacks. My heart was pounding. My face was hot. I guess I was blushing without realizing it. I approached the man.
Hello there, miss. Might I ask what brings you here?
I'm a little lost, actually.
Well then, you must be tired from all that traveling. Let me carry you to my cabin.
Against my better judgment, I accepted his offer. It was a dream, after all. If it was real, I probably wouldn't have said yes. As he carried me, I became weary, so I closed my eyes and fell asleep. When I woke up, I was in bed. I looked around and I saw that I was in his log cabin that was dimly lit by a fireplace. I saw the man poking at the fireplace with a metal rod.
Please forgive me. Where are my manners? I don't think we've been properly acquainted. My name is Jeremiah. What's yours?
Krystal.
Like a crystal that shines like the sun up high.
He approached me, getting closer as he continued.
A smile that sparkles like the nighttime sky.
My heart was racing. It was like my romance novels. We sat on my bed and stared at each other. His gaze hooked me. Got out of the bed and looked around to see pictures of him and his dad hanging on the walls.
Yes, that is my father. Well, was. He was a great man. He cut down many trees and carved wood with such craftsmanship. He built this very cabin himself.
Wow.
That's me, my father, the mayor, and all of the townsfolk. He presented us medals to honor us as heroes who rebuilt the town after it burnt down.
Oh no, it's terrible. What caused it?
No one knows, but I believe it was an act of arson.
But why would someone want to burn down a town full of innocent people? That's just horrible.
You don't have to do anything to them. It could have been something from their past. People like that kill anyone, regardless if they know them or not. Sometimes kin are killed. The world is full of madmen like that.
That reminded me too much of my dad on the day I last saw him. After he said that, I noticed a trap door in the corner of the room that seemed to lead somewhere under the house. What's down there?
Oh, I store wood down there for the winter, but I wouldn't go down there. There are bugs and rats that are most likely plagued. They aren't too friendly.
That didn't sound too inviting to me.
Stay here. I shall return soon. I'm going to chop some wood outside. See you soon, my dear.
He left the cabin, leaving me to myself. I couldn't help but be curious enough to walk over the trapdoor and open it to see where it went. I heard noises coming from the darkness below. I decided to take the lit candle on the table with me as I slowly made my way down the stairs. By the time I reached the bottom, the ceiling had dropped low enough to where I had to crouch. I looked around the small and musty space for logs, but that was the strangest thing. I couldn't see any. I walked in further and I smelled something horrible. It had the smell of a dead body. All of a sudden, my leg hit something. I moved the candle over to see what it was. Sure enough, it was a corpse in women's clothes. I jumped at the sight of it, in shock as tears began to fill my eyes, realizing that this man who owned the cabin wasn't who I thought he was. He was a killer. I thought that drug was supposed to make me see my fantasies, not my nightmares. I had to get out of there as fast as I could since the drug had a while to go before the effects wore off. Suddenly I heard a voice of a woman.
Help! Hello? Is someone there? Over here.
I followed the voice and moved the candle towards a pale young woman who looked around my age. She had green eyes, ruffled black hair, and a torn white cotton nightgown. She was crawling on the ground, trying to find the strength to get up and walk. I saw a bruise on her left cheek. She began to speak again.
He has been looking for women to rape and kill. You must go now before he does to you what he did to me.
No. No! I'm getting you out of here. I picked her up by her arm and dragged her to the stairs and up to the cabin. When we got to the top, I helped her walk. We bolted out of the cabin as fast as we could with her limping along the way. What's your name?
Abigail.
I threw her on my back and carried her across a big field, unsure of where to go. Where do we go from here? I don't really know the area.
If we go through the woods, we'll get to town faster. I'll show you where I live so you can take me there.
I saw the woods dead ahead, and suddenly Jeremiah. He saw us and started running at us with an axe.
Come back here!
He screamed as we ran into the woods as he pursued us. I found a small crawl space under a rock to hide from him. We crawled under the rock as he passed by.
Are we safe?
Shh. Jeremiah stood nearly 10 feet away, lurking around.
Stop hiding, or I'll kill you when I find you!
He'll kill us anyway.
But why would he do that? Isn't he supposed to be some town hero or something? After a minute, he finally left.
Hero? You think he's a hero? That man is the arsonist who burned our town to get recognition. He's a manipulative liar. I heard him say such things himself. He and his father work together to burn villages and rebuild them to gain all the fame and fortune they can get. They don't care about anyone but themselves and their desires. They rape women and kill them so no one hears about it. They cover it up with different stories that everyone believes. I tried to warn them all, but people thought I was crazy. One day I went to the cabin to investigate the truth, as I was suspicious of their actions. Those facts were what I'd found. I laid with him and stayed with him for 2 weeks. Then he beat me and pushed me down the stairs in his dungeon of rats to die. I was there since yesterday, but you saved me. Thank you so much.
She hugged me and began to cry. This is why I hate men. I can't believe I was so stupid. Crawled out and continued onward into town. All of this reminded me of my ex-boyfriend. A little too much. But I won't get into that. I carried her further until we finally made it to the town entrance. I walked her to her house, we said our goodbyes, and I headed back to the woods.
Goodbye. Be safe on your journey.
Closed my eyes in hopes I would wake up. I opened my eyes in relief to see my study again. I was finally awake, at home, and questioning if I should take this medicine ever again. I got out of my chair and lit the fireplace. Turned around and saw a piano. But the thing is, I didn't own a piano in my house. I started to panic, realizing there was someone else there, but then I thought to myself, wait a minute. Besides me, that woman from the park is the only other person who knows about the incident and where I live, so what could this mean? Well, to put it simply, either someone broke into my house to put a piano there, or perhaps it was the more logical answer, I wasn't really awake yet after all.